Julie here with siriustalesmoon. This is Mercury hour, Saturn day. Moon is in 0 degree Aries. Mercury is 21 degrees Sagittarius. And we are in numerological year 9. And we are about to begin numerological year 1. Numerological year 1 for this cycle was 2017. And I was one of the people that were talking about the Me Too before the Me Too actually was named. And this type of cycle is coming again because, just like I addressed in the previous episode, where I personally contacted the dean that was litigated it's basically human trafficking for sexual harassment and taking advantage of somebody that was working for him, who, by the way, was my TA in the first degree. And I didn't go with shame and blame. I said, hey, spirit of the time is changing. You're being seen in a particular way. And I was basically opening the door for him to accept strategic advantage of adapting himself and his behavior to the spirit of the time. Because what I was predicting was actually being borne out. Several months later, Me Too is Me Tooing, and those that they called the whores, which basically was the victims, had a voice, had a face, and this time they were believed, and people began to understand that, oh, that overgrowth of candida, oh, that reason that they're trying to have a baby and can't, oh, not for all couples. Some people have great relationships and very attuned sex and still have problems with fertility. But what about those that are child free? Why don't you have children? Well, the world is too rapey to have a child. In fact, one of the challenges with people that have attempts to have children, particularly if they do IVF, which I talked about previously, is the fact that the sexual relationships have to be under the stress of, oh, to try another time, or this pressure. In fact, when my best friend in university, my best woman friend in university married, she and her husband had a very good answer. Now they have a baby, they had a very good answer, at least the first years of marriage. But people would ask him, what about the baby? They'd say, oh, right now, we're going to make it right now. And those things, okay, because people think about sexual sovereignty and attunement or willing consent. They usually think about, well, okay, they think about rape. But it's not just that at all. I predicted those things before 2017. Now, Venus is about to meet the Sun. It's about to meet you again. People had 9 years to get used to the fact that sexual sovereignty is a thing. They had enough time to get used to the changing times. Year 1, 2026 is a year of foundation. If people try to build a foundation, still living in the concepts of raping people and calling those who say no to rape whore, how should I say it? After COVID, if a doctor says we must listen to the municipality of health and so on and so forth, how do we look at him with all or her with all their degree, him or her with all their degrees? A puppet. So how do we look at somebody who says about someone, yeah, they are whore, they are loose, they are this, they are that? You've been in Epstein Island. You've been in Epstein Island. He Epsteining. He got money to lose because he built the entire empire on raping children. Hey, the guy is extortable. What happens when we build a foundation on something that doesn't hold water? 9/11. On human trade is 9/11. This is because to understand people that thought that the Me Too went too far missed on making money off of selling jade eggs, invested in the sex positive industry. That's how I made my money. After the Me Too, and it began with investment. I said, why litigate? The corrupt, the person that harmed me was probably the lesser evil regarding to all the people above the chain. So why try to hunt heads where I can make money reconnecting with my own sexuality? And I said, wait a second, put my money in a course of reconnecting with my own sensuality. Now, that place had missing things. When I filled in the missing blank thing, and the lady that needed that little stretching of the content to feed to people that deal with, let's say, being life threatened by their husband because they married someone following the grief of their lost brother, and that grief sent them to control based sexuality that later threatened their lives, and so on and so forth. And then they said, "Oh, we need new people for the call center." I said, "It's a job offer." Yeah, but you need to be an individual contractor. Open my business. At that time, the money that would come in would not even go to me, okay? Because I was consolidating a loan with the bank. I wasn't even making that money. I opened that business. It wasn't to make the money, it was to prepare the infrastructure for sovereignty. And the economy was moving jaded. The economy was moving sex positive. The economy was moving food freedom and sovereignty. The economy was moving fitness app that is compatible with real, actual women bodies. The economy was moving to love wands. And then people try to take that and then again make of it extortion called again, because they were losing the foundations on which their ships were founded upon, which was rape. What do you think will happen February 14, Valentine's Day, Saturn, Neptune, 0 degree Aries, year one global foundation? On the basis of what? Now, people, you see, one of the things we learned with all that industry it was male communication, female communication. Now, all genders communicate in both of the forms, but when they learn to identify it, it can actually improve communication. And one of the examples that were given about a man is a man will drive his car into a tree trunk, and only when it collides, it will understand he was moving the wrong direction. Better later than ever, my mother says. Okay? Can't build a foundation of anything that stands the test of time in a Mars sign upon rape. It is built to collapse. Now you think you're going to build to collapse and sustain it standing on the last floor in the penthouse of the 9/11? That's investing in rape and extortion cults in 2025-6. Yeah, we mean that. Sexual sovereignty. Yeah, we mean that. If you don't identify that that thing's gonna become a crusade, you had 9 years to identify. Not to say, yeah, no. The whole world is fighting over this new thing called the Me Too. What do they want? To actually be able to enjoy sex. They're redefining relationships. Even what we call the sex industry is now loved ones and jade eggs. New thing, like that would be the time to adapt, to rethink, to go through the existential crisis and say, okay, there's something new happening. But people underestimated and pushed all the power to again try to suppress that. We are January, we're nearing, and let's take a look at when is the Venus Sun conjunction again. It's a 9/11 type of conjunction. It will be with Mars. It's opposing Jupiter, I think 16, 17 degrees of Capricorn. 16 degrees to 18 degrees. Venus in Capricorn is practical. And this will be opposing Jupiter in Cancer. Mars stands the test of time. What would Me Too, which is about sexual sovereignty, more than gender, if you can get that, then you got the Me Too. If you didn't get, I don't care if you like the Me Too, if you dislike the Me Too, okay? I'm not judging what you do in your bedroom. If that other person, you want to get killed, you want to get assassinated because you raped someone, I can't decide for you the course of the action. Whether you like it or dislike it, you understood nothing about the Me Too. If you didn't get it's about sexual sovereignty as a value. I don't care what was the social engineering. I care what is the phenomena. And people will go to a megalithic religious war around it. But the Vatican, nothing. Sexual sovereignty. Without it is nothing. Anything offered taking away sexual sovereignty is nothing. Is disease upon disease upon depression upon disease upon being dead inside. That's all that it is. And everything, the entire world can go boom, and that's okay. People don't get that because they didn't live anywhere near close to that. Do I know to explain that as an astrologer? Why is it happening right now? No. Do I not see that it's happening? No, I see that it's happening. I know what I saw before 2017. I saw where the world was moving afterwards. Because a lot of people would look at it, yeah, but now in every job they have this and that trafficking, and they call it work. I said, well, did you not see where the sex work is work campaign is going? Because in 2017, when I heard working ladies saying two things, one, but hey, the married wife is also, and I'm like, no, lady, you are correct. This is how married women used to be. They didn't even understand that women are actually fighting for sexual sovereignty. And the second thing was sex work is work. And I'm like, darling, don't you see what's coming regarding every working sector? I'm not talking about AI. That was the Me Too. Rape is the reason no investment yields. Rape is the reason no work is actually yielding something that can turn into investment that yields. Rape is the reason they favor oil over salmon. They favor that which makes everything toxic, including the best branded water that's marketed to the elite. My expertise is asking, what's the one thing that changes everything? What do you think will happen on such a megalithic transit in world degree Aries that we had not once in a couple of centuries? I did not find Saturn Neptune on 0 degree Aries. I found in 0 degree Cancer, but not in 0 degree Aries in the last millennia and something. What do you think will happen? What is the one thing that changes everything? Sexual sovereignty. לא, אחר כך, תודה. The people that rely on the Pluto Capricorn generation, okay, they think Gen Z will be religious forever. In fact, Gen Z is exposing the energy harvesting of sex cults. And the generation after them, the Pluto Capricorns, are going through the climbing up the ladder, and they're going to understand upon their Saturn returns and Saturn transits, or even Uranus transits, okay, the first Uranus square, that soul matters. And it was severed from the body by sexual violence. If you ask me what will win the war of the 15 years that are coming, I say whatever it will. Without sexual sovereignty, there wouldn't be a you to see it, even if you are so-called alive. There are a lot of people that think that they're sexually frustrated because they didn't have sex. Imagine the sexual frustration of people that had to defend their sexual boundaries. I said that during the Me Too. Of people that couldn't relax into something and trust that it's okay before, during, and after. What happened to the Challenger when they knew the weather was not fit for launching a rocket and they launched it anyway? It went boom. This is the equivalent of launching anything on a world degree, on a worldly scale, being told that sexual sovereignty matters and saying, no, we're going to go for it anyway. Now, here's the thing, it's a part of the facets of Aries, because Aries is, how should I say that? Aries is about doing something anyway. It's about entrepreneurship, but this is where the Saturn Aries comes to the forefront, because Saturn can collapse the foundation. It can challenge anything that's being launched on the foundation of sexual boundary violation. And there's no amount of blame shifting, this and that, because, first of all, because they already did that to people. And secondly, because if the Challenger explodes, it explodes with all people on board. How frustrated you think are the people that care about sexual sovereignty and identify that this is the source of sovereignty? About all the people that try to rebel against that which is not rebelling against the grain, it's trying to kill the life within a person. Where's Better Per Se gonna be? Dead bodies upon dead bodies upon dead bodies upon dead bodies. Why they raped? Genocide, they raped. PTSD veteran, they raped. Aries ain't got time for this. But all this, the population, they raped. And the women, they have done rape. They justified rape. Where were these women in the Me Too? Women rights organizations themselves didn't predict the Me Too. This is why 7th of October, they were in delay to acknowledge, okay, the false flag rape rituals of the oil car, of the reassembling Standard Oil. It didn't kill women's rights. It killed every fundamental misalignment with sexual sovereignty. It means that all these women that were delaying, if they die tomorrow, they raped. Okay? But there were women, but different. Where were they in 7th of October? It means they raped. But Israel, Standard Oil, global company, there were 34. Chevron is Israeli, yes. Noble is Israeli, yes. British Petroleum, Esso. But it's all clones of it. One time I hear it's House of Orange, one time I hear it's Khazarian Mafia, one time. At the end of the day, I don't care what color they are. They rape, pro-rape, or with life. That is what the Me Too was essentially about. Yeah, we mean that. Can it be swiped under the rug and so on and so forth? You know what? Maybe it can. I wouldn't trust the water. I wouldn't trust the salmon. I wouldn't trust the fish. I wouldn't trust the crab cider. If you're not the type of living organism where radiation is nourishing and growing for you, I'd go with sexual sovereignty. I don't know. Aries is reason. Saturn is dead. If you're not reasonable, you're dead. If you're not for sexual sovereignty in action that stand the test of time, you're dead. And all of your foundations to begin with are built for the dead. Great time to build global cemeteries. They're not going to need to use them because they'll be bombed as well. The cemeteries will be bombed. Are we going to have a bombed cemetery now? Because I'm thinking about why am I, I always take a look as astrologer. It's like, okay, why is this thing coming up right now, and so on and so forth. So of course, Aries energy is very passionate, deterministic, and cardinal. Um, and I'm like, it's gonna be like a graveyard of very important people or something. Let's take a look at January. January 6th. 16 degree Venus Sun. Mars is 17 degrees. Saturn 26 degrees Pisces. Can be religious cemetery where people. Yes! The moon is applying to Regulus. The moon will square Uranus and then apply to Regulus. is a place where are they gonna bomb Mount Rushmore or something like that? Rejuvenating what is set in stone. Uh, Saturn in Pisces can be a structure of mythical importance. Uh, Pisces is the fourth house of United States. Jupiter in Cancer of important of the people, foundation. Saturn of a land, what land? Freedom. Jupiter of the people. Where's the moon applying to Regulus leaders, Regulian leaders, the founding fathers? Saturn stone structures. Moon will Uranus at the end of Taurus. Lord of Fortune on the galactic center. The founding fathers of freedom. Rahu 11 degree explosion of religious some sort. The moon will later go over Ketu, purging Mercury, Mercury stone statues, but it's small. Mercury is small. It can be a piece or the ears of the ears of the Liberty statue. I don't know. One of these statues could be bombed. But why is the Me Too related to that? Saturn is the people of United States. Jupiter in Cancer is closer to the sun of United States. I had vertex going through the ascendant of United States at the time. Netherlands is not exempt. Second house means it could be made by the United States as usual. Okay, because it's skill. It can be made look like invasion, kind of Pearl Harbor thing. You're like, I don't know. And it's just applying. When will Mars oppose Jupiter? This is the Saturn meeting of Sun, Venus, and Mars. Mars is to break. Saturn is stone structures or statues. In Pisces, mythical importance or ships. Moon going over Ketu is purging leaders, is founding fathers. The moon accentuates the eclipse, so it's founding fathers of United States. And Mercury can be an artwork or handcrafted in stone. Purging the physical manifestation of. But what's that to do with the Me Too? That's what I don't get. Because Sun Venus is always a Me Too thingy. It can have to do with women of color because it's Saturn, but I don't see at all what's. It's like there is a connection, but I don't see it. And then Mars will oppose Jupiter, which is, oh, they're going to continue to the 18 degrees, is a really evil and toxic degree. And then the moon will oppose Saturn on the destruction of cities. And vertex is 18 degrees at this time. The moon will oppose Saturn on the destruction of cities on Al-Qaid, which can manifest a destruction of a city, perhaps in response. And the moon will try and it will agree with the triple conjunction. There's a kite shape in the sky, which is transformation. Uranus Beta per se. Okay, Beta per se is to take the head off, but here the heads are symbolic. They're made in stone, but the cities are not symbolic. What? Something planned? What? New York? Like Robert Cowell Classic? To the Inverbatim? Then Mars will continue to conjoin the Sun in 19 degree and in 20 degree. Okay, Sun Mars with Venus close by in a T square with the Moon. It will be not too far from Spica. This all takes place between January 6 to January 10. This is going to be a Saturday. Global trade. This is why I thought it's kind of like a World Trade Center, but I see it's more statues set in stone and to do with the leaders. So I was thinking either the Statue of Liberty or Mount Rushmore or something like that. And it's a religious war. And the topic of women's rights is so important, is of mythical importance. But Venus in Capricorn, to be very honest, is like, how should I say that? Is traditional, she's this is why when I tried, I struggled to understand this Venus Saturn conjunction because Venus Saturn is kind of like, well, does it mean to something in Capricorn? I mean, I know how sexual sovereignty is related to Capricorn related issues, but that's a T square. The moon is decreasing, so it's completion of something that was planned before. But Ketu is letting go of, is to do with the eclipses that are touching to the people of United States and here the leaders. But I really think that it's Mercury can be a picture of the leader more than the leader itself, and Saturn is stone. And Saturn is also mountains. It's also high buildings, kind of like yes, Mercury is the sign of like the twin straight centers is exactly a Mercury Saturn or Capricorn Gemini type of thing. Where Sedna is in Gemini, but nothing is pinpointing Sedna except for Mercury. She does pinpoint. um, Saturn ruling over Pluto in Aquarius, so rejuvenating what is set in stone. Oh, and it has an idea importance, which is somebody literally said Ra, which is associated also with Beta per se. Okay, very weird that this triple conjunction with Mercury is joining. Venus is 22 in Capricorn the next day, which is 11th January, and then the Sun, 12th January, and then Mars, 13th January, with Mercury 18ing. So we're going to have 1822, and Mars is going to be squaring, all the 22s in Capricorn are squaring Chiron, but then Jupiter enters 19-degree Cancer, which is the ascendant. It's around the ascendant of the 1800 chart for Netherlands. And the moon will oppose Uranus. Beta per se related statues can also be like shrines and stuff. Pluto is also hidden underground subways. And Saturn ingresses to the 27th degree. In a point of Thales between the opposition of of Moon and Uranus. Let's just say if Trump withdraws too much from NATO, it needs to remember that Japan spent a lot of money and it wants it to yield. No, this is the deacon of Bildenberg in Belsen, Chiron. Not only, I mean, it's. And my lot of fortune. My lot of fortune is very associated with the 9/11 for some reason. The antlers are down for the winter. Um, it's harvest season for the antlers of the reindeer. Um, let's just say if you don't have to book a flight around that time. I talked about the mind control plane technicians. I should have invested in more sushi, is what I'm saying. I had the money, I put it in cocoa maca. I'm waiting for the cocoa maca to arrive, which you understand is a sensitive time. Um, just for the sake of it. What happens with Mercury 22 in Capricorn? Uh, Mercury is going through more than a degree a day. Okay, January looks a bit weird, and it's gonna be a Saturn return for some people, very important people. I think is somebody having their Saturn return as a kind of a 9/11 event. Location, location, location. What happened in the last 9 days? I was beginning to take a look at world news. Trump and Zelensky had a fight, but that happens every now and then. Okay, towards Trump Zelensky. Tomorrow, Mercury will 22, trine in Chiron 22. Jupiter is no longer 22, and so we get a little bit of rest from that. Gaza restrictions. Okay, a Chinese billionaire brought 100 children in United States. They're celebrating that for some reason. I don't know. Israeli police arrests Palestinian man dressed as Santa Claus at a Christmas party. Okay, Jupiter 22ing. Chiron 22ing. World news in brief. Global economy on the brink of ending slavery. Latin America. Well, there is the overkill joke in United States Army, which is the United States calls the commander, the foreign commander, and a foreign commander says, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no people on this particular territory in the United States. Hangs up, calls a couple of minutes later, say, yeah, I can confirm you have no people. This is what that statement is, because I can confirm we're on the brink of ending slavery. Not just in the United States. Water skiing Santas and giant cuts of meat. Uranus is in Taurus. Christmas around the world. Gaza winter storm, 7 billion UNICEF appeal. Okay, Russia attempts to have illicit market for leaked data according to The Guardian. Not news. China imposes sanctions on US defense firms over Taiwan arms deal. That's a thing. Okay, that's something we had in these 9 days. 18 hours ago. The news is 18 hours ago. Deep freeze grips Canada as US records warmest Christmas. Then Israel acknowledges Somaliland as a sovereign state. So the wound around sovereignty. By the way, this is a great Chiron remediation for a nation. Okay? Sovereignty, acknowledging a wound around sovereignty, okay? Healing the wound around sovereignty for Somaliland as Chiron remediation for Chiron 22ing in the 7th house of Israel. People don't like that move, but on legal terms, okay, they can basically puts Israel in a situation where it would have to acknowledge Palestine as a sovereign state. But it would also put Israel as an agent that says, well, if I have to do it, then Denmark has to do it with Greenland. Then Somalia has to do it with Somaliland. Okay, it's that annoying child in the room that everybody hates because they're actually right, and nobody in that particular